Hello, everyone, and welcome to this amazing Lunch and Learn, which is a program sponsored by family partners of Morris and Sussex counties. And for those of you who may not have heard about family partners before, I have the good news. Family partners provide services in Morris and Sussex counties to caregivers with special needs children or children with challenges in general. And these services are at no cost to you, regardless of your income. And moving along, the topic for today is Don't Get Vaping by Ayla Bower, who is from the Center for Prevention and Counseling. Welcome, Ayla. Welcome, Ayla.
Okay. So I'm just actually going to share my screen just for a visual here. All right. Can we see that okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm from the Center for Prevention and Counseling, and I'm also working with Tobacco Free for Health in New Jersey. So the Center for Prevention and Counseling provides services, including prevention programs. So there's a lot of prevention services provided to schools and communities. We also do, exactly like our name says, some counseling work. So we do primarily drug and alcohol counseling, as well as some other counseling services. And we also have a very robust recovery support network as well. So I'm actually coming here from the Center for Prevention and Counseling, and then also representing Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey, which you can see on your screen here. And Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey is an initiative working to provide prevention, education, and cessation for tobacco products for all different entities throughout the community. So I'll explain a little bit more later, but we do work with youth, which a lot of this will be focused on today, but we also do some work in workplaces. We do some work in communities. We also do some work in housing. So we basically cover the entire state of New Jersey. My role is a prevention specialist, and then also I am the Northern Regional Coordinator for our youth component, which is called Incorruptable Us.
Ayla, let's clarify something, because I know the Center for Prevention and Counseling has different services. So basically, exactly what you do there, because I want to make sure the families understand if they need to reach out to you in regard to the topic that we have today. So I want them to know who.
So I wear a couple of different hats at the Center for Prevention and Counseling, but one hat that I do hold, if there is something that you believe that the Center for Prevention and Counseling could provide, I can help you either point you in the right direction within our agency, or any other agency that we work with, to kind of help through whatever you think we might be able to help you with. Prevention work specifically is something that I work with a lot. So any sort of school-based programming. So we work with most of the schools within Sussex County, and we cover a wide range of different grades. So we generally do this work through municipal alliances or a couple different grants that we have. And we're able to provide some services that work on wellness or prevention of substances. So I can definitely help out in that realm. Also, if you know of a kid or an adult or somebody who needs tobacco education or cessation, meaning helping them quit smoking, I am definitely that person that can help out, either helping out provide those education materials or help somebody connect with a prevention, education or cessation component that might work best for them or their families.
That's great. Awesome. And so, Ayla, you mentioned it that you are the Regional Youth Coordinator for Tobacco Free for Health in New Jersey. What type of program is this?
So what we do with the regional component is we broke up the state into different regions, because although we're a very small state, we're a very, very densely populated state, and by being able to break our sectors up into a north, central, and southern region, we're able to better fit each of our counties. So each one of our regional coordinators covers 7 counties. So up here in the north, you can see here that I do Sussex, Passaic, Warren, Bergen, Morris, Essex, and Hudson. And we have youth coordinators in each one of those counties. So if anybody needed some work on school policy or how to connect their youth with some services, I can definitely help you connect with that person in that county that can best fit the needs of their county. So all of our material, all of our programs are broken up in this north, central, and southern region. So we're able to best fit whatever need of that community we have. Because the north isn't the same as the south in our state. There's a lot of work. We also do work with the Southern Perinatal Cooperative, who does some amazing work throughout our entire state, and we'll actually see some of the materials that they help us with. They do really great work, and if anybody's interested, they have information around smoke-free rides and mom's quit connection. So families that need some quit support, I can help you out, connect with them, and provide some of those services. And we also have our training partners, LMTI, who I know some of our guests here work closely with, and they're a really wonderful group that we work with too, to help do some of our training and some of our outreach specialists.
Great. And what is the age range for this type of program?
So I'm just going to click forward. So specifically for my program, Incorruptable Us, which is our youth component, covers youth ages 13 through 18. So basically those middle school to high school years, we focus on that group. And when I say we focus on them, that means that a lot of our work is done through middle or high schools, and also some youth groups. So some of those teen groups that you have in different communities. For example, some of our Incorruptable Us members have created their own chapters in schools, whereas some have combined them with their local youth groups to create a very robust and exciting community support. So we're able to support the youth to support their communities in whatever way they feel best, because this is a youth-focused, youth-led initiative, meaning that they have the steering wheel. They're the ones who say, we need this in this community. This is what's working. This is what's not working. This is what's going on. And we do our best to support them in any way we can as it relates to tobacco cessation or prevention. As far as our other programs go, we cover the entire age range. So we have Working Well, as you can see here, and I'll give context for each person at the end. Working Well covers employers and employees. So anybody who's working to have a smoke-free policy or maybe do some smoke-free activities in their workplace, this is a great place for them. There's also some great incentives that work along in here. We also have smoke-free housing, working to specifically target multi-unit housing to be smoke-free and to support them in signage and education and how to make that whole area as healthy as possible. NJ Quits works with the college age. So we're working with campuses all across New Jersey. There's a website that has all of them listed, but we have some ones up here in the north. We're working specifically with Rutgers to do some work to make their campuses smoke-free and also provide those cessation resources to a population that's extremely vulnerable to nicotine and tobacco addiction. We also have point of sale and the quit line. So point of sale is how tobacco enters the community. So that's working with retailers, educating them on the legal age for selling tobacco, which is 21, and also how to have proper signage, how to have proper training. And we try to support them so they're able to still have a profit, but also know the law surrounding the sale of alcohol.
Right. And how families can get involved with the services?
So the best way to do that is, like I said, I can be like the beacon. So contact me and I would be able to provide you with any sort of cessation. I also encourage you to go to tobaccofreenj.com. They have a quit smoking page and that has all of the different quit services that we provide. But if anybody had a question, like say specifically about smoke-free housing and maybe something that they need enforcement or strategies in their area, contact me, and then I can connect them with the person who would be best suited for that kind of work.
And here in this presentation, I know that you're mentioning about free and that, but we want to make sure how much does it cost in case if there is any type of cost involved.
In all truth, there is never a cost involved for any of our services. So that means, if you have a youth that wanted to do Incorruptable Us, not only is it free for a youth to join any of our groups, but we also have some really great, we have giveaways, we have prizes, we have some really cool ways to incentivize youth being a part of this group. And it's amazing because you have youth from all across the state coming together for a collective goal. And when you see that in action, it's really inspiring. But along with our quit services, there is never a fee for quit services. We also are able to not only help people connect with the right quit service, But if we know of a group that would be specific for them, or if there's a need in an area, we can assess that area and provide maybe some more targeted or specific quit services to that area. Contact me, and then I can do all the logistics side of it.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome. So that's great. And what about, let's talk about ENDS, which are the acronym for electronic nicotine. Can you please tell us about that?
Yes, no problem.
Thank you.
So we don't actually, when I'm in the community, this is what we call this, and when we do all of our, the scientific side of things. But when you hear about these, you're going to hear them called, Ecigs, vapes. There's a whole bunch of other slang terms out there that people use. But basically, they are what their name says. So they're electronic nicotine delivery systems. Basically, just a way for nicotine to enter the system through a battery-operated device. I'll go through how we've got here. I'll go through a little bit about the past and where we are now. But people say, they vape or, they smoke, but really when it comes down to it, it's an aerosol. So aerosol means that it's a very tiny particle, and it is basically aerosolized through a battery component that superheats it. So whether it's, it has lots of different chemicals in there, but basically the nicotine and any flavorings and some carrying ingredients, including propylene glycol and glycerin, are carried in and then inhaled and then exhaled. I think this picture here does a really great job. If you Google pictures of them, you can see some very specifics, but I think this does a good job of showing the basic model of an e-cigarette. Although we know that they change, there's some pod based, there's some, full units, but basically they all follow this basic guideline, and this is how they work.
So we have e-cigarettes, vape pens, hookah pens, tanks, mods, Juuls, and more. In your opinion, which one, if not all of them, is the worst?
So I think without pointing a finger at any one specific, model or brand being worse or better than the other, I think a way to look at this is to look at what happened and where we are and why. So when e-cigarettes first came out, it was 2007. And really, they were meant to coexist along with cigarettes. Nobody actually wanted cigarettes. I mean, not nobody. The big tobacco industries never wanted cigarettes to come off the market. However, we did see a dramatic decrease in people smoking, which is wonderful, which is what all of us prevention people really want to happen. But once these came on the market, once e-cigarettes came on the market in 2007, a lot of people really started to gravitate towards that electronic device and the ease of being able to use it anywhere, which we know now is illegal. You're not allowed to use an e-cigarette any place you'd use a cigarette. But people really gravitated towards it. And of course, the tobacco industry jumped on that, just as any marketing or industry would do. And when we first started to see them, we really saw them looking like cigarettes. So they looked very much like a cigarette. And then as people started to like them more and gravitate towards them more, that's when you start to see your tanks or your mods. So that's this first section that you see here. They kind of started to have some more bells and whistles. They were refillable, customizable. They really had a lot of user hands-on experience. So people really like that because they're able to choose your cigarette flavors, just like you're able to choose your cigarette flavors or your tobacco flavors. We're able to make this yours and make it customizable. And people really enjoyed that. However, if I did have to point a finger at one specific area where it all went kind of south for us, as far as health goes, it's when the Juul came out. I think we can look at e-cigarettes being pre-Juul and post-Juul. So when we look at, Juul, when it first hit the market, and even though it's not as favorable now, many youth don't use it, but it did change the game. So basically they went from having all these bells and whistles, refillable, you could program them on a computer. Some of them had screens. Juul hit the market and it was streamlined. It was sleek. It looks like USB, didn't require any prior experience with one. Anybody could use one. And they came in fun flavors. So not only were they a comfortable design, but they had flavors that were very comfortable to, especially our youth. And we also had a proprietary blend called nicotine salts, and nicotine salts make nicotine more bioavailable, but it also allows it not to hurt the throat so much. So not only did it hit the market with, its design and its flavoring, but then once people started to use it, it actually felt better for them to use. It wasn't a harsh experience like somebody's usually their first nicotine experience or tobacco experience is. Once we look at the trends here, once Juul hit the market, that's where you see those trend lines they skyrocket after that. So that's where you see youth use really go up. Our young adults really start to use them more. Adult use went up. And that's where we see this like post-Juul era now, where we have here, you see like this is called a Soren, but a lot of these pod-based really started to pick up in the market. And since then, we've really gone into disposables. And that's right now in 2022, 2021 into 2022 is where the majority of e-cigarette use is.
To be honest, I didn't even know they have so many devices out there. Yeah,
there is no shortage of different devices on the market, and these tanks and mods still exist. Nothing ever stopped existing. All of these still exist. There might be some laws around it, but we know legislatively there's not a lot of good legislation or actually enforced legislation around these e-cigarettes. So we look at this and we now are going forward, but nothing ever stops existing. So we're just building on what's on the market.
So which one from all of this is the most common, that people
are
right using?
Right now we are in the realm of disposables. So disposables are a single device. So a lot of these, let me just go backwards. So a lot of these devices either have a pod or they're fillable. And that was the case for a long time. But disposables, just like their name says, is a all-in-one unit. So you use the unit and then you throw out the whole unit and then you purchase it again. There's a lot of, from a user standpoint, there's a lot of really great benefits to this. As a youth, you can make the choice to throw away your vape. You get caught with it, you just throw the whole thing away. Or, if you get it taken away, it's okay because you were going to throw it out anyway. So a lot of those older products, the actual device itself was very expensive. And so you were very attached to it. You just refill it or get the pods, but that one piece was kind of expensive. The price point is very, very low. They also come in a large range of flavors, and they're pretty much sold everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean like gas stations, bodegas, the corner markets, basically anywhere, and including vape shops as well. So they're retailed widely. Our online market is huge right now for these, and you can get any flavor, any design. They have very specific markets. So they have like cartoon characters from specific shows, superheroes, glittery ones, you name it. There's a design for it and a flavor for it out there. So this is where it is. And you could see from a youth perspective why this would be so enticing. So that's where we are now. And I don't honestly see this changing for quite some time. A lot of our laws surrounding flavor bans actually, go around this. They don't even address this. And the amount of youth that reports getting this from an online retailer is quite significant as well.
Any other emerging products that we should be worried?
So one thing that I definitely want to just open your eyes to, and this is not something that we're not up in arms about this specifically yet. But I do definitely want to, from an adult perspective, looking at youth, I just want to address oral nicotine and why it's important to kind of take a look at this. So these products are, they're like either a dissolvable tablet. So similar to what you'd see in some of our cessation devices. So NRTs, nicotine replacement therapies, have things like lozenges and gum. And they're meant to, start at a certain milligram level and then slowly have less and less. And that's great because it helps a lot of people stop using these products. However, these new oral nicotine products are not designed to be cessation. They are specifically designed to be a way to get nicotine into your system, maybe without smoking it, or, maybe, using chewing tobacco. So interestingly enough, these are really being backed by some of our bigger tobacco markets, and they have lots of flavors. They have lots of strengths. So just like our vapes do, with all the flavors out there, these have these meet a market for very young people. And you can see in this top picture, these, look at all the colors, look at all the flavors. So here on the top, I don't know if you can read it, it says wintergreen, mint, cinnamon, coffee, citrus, berry, and original. So they come in lots of flavors. This is very similar to some of the candies you see on the market. And we're seeing huge surges in young people using them. And why this is so important is nicotine is extraordinarily addictive. And that's probably not a surprise to anybody. But if you're maybe at school and you can't use a vape product and you're addicted to it, this is a way to, have nicotine when you can't have it directly on you. So I just want people to be aware that they're out there. How they're being marketed really is saying that you can have this anywhere, be free from the vape and things like that. So it's really marketed towards those people that are already dependent on nicotine, but it's not designed to make people quit nicotine. So, just keep your eyes open. If you see it, it's sold in lots of stores, but it does come in a variety of strengths too. So it does have some pretty high nicotine levels.
Oh, interesting. Huh? So in relation to oral nicotine, we also have tobacco. What can you tell us about chewable tobacco and why it's so common?
So we do see, and if you look at the trend line for chewing tobacco, it's always been very even. We did see a huge decrease, once tobacco started or once there was a push against the harmful effects of tobacco. But we do see people using it, honestly, as a way to not use, I'm not inhaling it. It's fine. I can use it here. I can have it in my car. I can have it, there's no secondhand smoke, which is great. There's no thirdhand smoke, which is great. So we see people using it as something that they could use anywhere or do anywhere. But people think of it as a less harmful nicotine or tobacco product, when in reality, all you're doing is moving those harmful consequences away from your lungs and, your organs, and moving it more to the upper area. So, mouth, throat, areas like that can be really, really affected. So they're just as dangerous, and they're still being marketed in all of these flavors. So, in certain areas, youth use, especially with your high school or middle schoolers, is pretty high. They've also marketed, so they come in pouches, not so much as the loose chewing tobacco is familiar with. It used to be very loose and messy, and now it comes in pouches, which are easily concealable in the mouth.
Interesting. Huh? A lot of things to learn today, definitely. So let's discuss youth vaping and peer pressure. Why do you think this is a big challenge, and what can we do to make it better?
Yeah, it is a challenge. So like I said, I work in the whole state of New Jersey. We do a lot of, talking focus groups. We do a lot of surveys. When most youths were asked why they chose to either try vapes or use vapes, number one was peer pressure. Peer pressure is number one. And I always try to stay away from the word peer pressure when working with youth, because it has such a negative view in the community, in schools, because I think from, I don't know, the age of, it's probably 3 now, we hear about peer pressure. And I think a lot of times people have this misconception that peer pressure is somebody going, come on, do this, which does happen. But there's also this pressure, the society pressure, like the pressure from, the cool kids maybe are doing it, or maybe, a group, they don't want to be like this group, so they start using it. There's pressure from TV shows and video games and social media and advertisements online, and pressure from convenience stores when they walk in or walking through their community. There is so much pressure. We even hear a lot when we're talking with our youth, we hear a lot of people saying, I don't see it in my school, but I see it at home. So they notice it, they recognize it. And the more you see a product, the more comfortable you are with the product, the more likely you are to try this product. So the pressure itself might not be as direct as we might see in our old school, like our health classes, but it's still there. So I just want to recognize that and say that peer pressure, yes, but also pressure in every which direction at every different area 24/7 is there too.
So I see that a lot of programs are emerging and also a lot of great things are happening in addressing, the challenges that we are having with tobacco and all of this. So what can you tell us about the program that is called This is Quitting? Something that I just learned yesterday when I was reviewing the information for this presentation. So would you please tell us about?
Yeah, no problem. No problem. We'll talk. I'll give out information too. This is just about flavors. The Truth Initiative, I just encourage everybody to go into the Truth Initiative's website and just see some of the stuff that's out there. And they have some really great infographics, as you can see here. And they have some like really great fact-based information. I always encourage people when they learn about e-cigarettes, and especially talking with youth about it, that they know where they're getting their information from and they know that it's coming from a reliable source, because online there is a whole bunch of very loud people with some definitely not evidence-based claims. So I would say go on the Truth Initiative. They have a whole bunch of really great information about a wide variety of sources, but then they also have some awesome like citations. So they can tell you exactly where they got the information, where the study was from, and who did they pull, and what was their sample size. So it's really good factual information. So going on there is wonderful. So in a partnership with our with Truth Initiative, Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey has This is Quitting. So this is really great because it kind of takes the it's really easy for youth to get involved. So it's for youth ages 13 through 24. It's a free service and it's a text only program. So we know that asking a youth to make a doctor's appointment or to make a phone call or to do, go to this meeting, that's a barrier. This kind of takes those barriers away and allows youth to just jump on here. All they have to do is text Vape Free NJ to 88709, and that connects them with these quit services. So it's great because they're able to have that, we know that the phone is always there. They have the services right there and they're able to get the help that they need. And if they need more help, that's something that this service can provide. They can provide more help as needed, but that support is there and it's in their hand literally 24/7. So I encourage any young people to give this a try and get some of the support that they could really need, especially when they need it the most.
And do you have an idea, what is the approach that they are using in helping youth and adults in general?
So when the different tactics work for different groups of people, especially with youth, being supportive, giving information around, health consequences, we know is kind of, they hear it all the time in health classes, but providing a support network and deterring them from social norms seems to work really well. So social norming is when that, everybody says everybody's doing it. It's great when you can see that everybody's not doing something. And giving them that supportive encouragement and saying, this is worked for other people. This is, this can help you financially. And here is some negative consequences. Like now we know, the connection between mental health and nicotine is significant. There was this myth out there that nicotine helped people calm down and it reduced stress. But now we see, and Truth Initiative has a really great campaign around it, but now we know that it actually perpetuates mental health issues. So it does increase stress, it increases anxiety, and increases rates of depression. So being able to find out what's really out there and helping the youth, guiding them to find out about marketing and finding out about health consequences, both mental and physical health consequences, and giving them a supportive environment has worked really, really well.
One thing, based on what you just mentioned, nowadays we hear a lot of youth and also adults suffering from depression. So do you think there is a correlation between the two? You just mentioned it, but you think?
Yes. It's on the Truth Initiative. I wish I had it at my fingertips, but the Truth Initiative has a whole great section. I don't want to say like it's an article. It is multi-level sections on how mental health is related to nicotine and what we're seeing and just the trends. There is definitely a correlation now because we used to think that nicotine was just the addictive substance in a lot of our tobacco products. But what we know now is that nicotine actually has a pretty profound effect in the brain. We know that, yes, addiction is there. However, it does affect parts of our brain like our frontal cortex and our hippocampus that really like drive a lot of our emotions and our regulations.
Huh, interesting. And let's say, like, for instance, if someone wants to participate in the This is Quitting program, what is the age range? Oh, you mentioned it. The age range is for 13 to 20, from 13 to 24, right?
Yeah, and it's super easy to enroll. So there's no cost to it. It's free. And like I said, we know that, like, if somebody is, in a group or maybe like doing a phone call, that might not be when they need the service the most. There's a ton of apps out there too that are helpful, but this is Quitting. You can text at any time. It provides that support. And we know that it might not be, a 9 to 5 time where the youth really need these services. It might be 10:30 at night when they're, right about to go to bed or in the middle of the night. So it allows 24/7 support for youth who could really use it.
And I know, because this is the field that you work with, do you see like children younger than 13 using tobacco or getting involved? Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are seeing, especially with some of the areas that we work in, we're seeing younger and younger youth use. And unfortunately, we used to kind of like chalk it up to, somebody just tried something and it was like in their house, especially with vapes, because remember, cigarettes, people had to light at the end. Like there was actually like, you had to like use a match or a lighter. You had to go somewhere somebody wasn't going to smell it. You had to like hide. And, there's all these barriers to using cigarettes where if a vape is left on a counter, anybody can use it. So we used to like say, oh, maybe it's, somebody just using it once, but now we're seeing younger and younger people use it. It's getting younger and younger. We do encourage them to find these services. We also have some other connections that I will be able to provide, but if we know that somebody, maybe 10 or 11 is using a vape product, they still should try this. This is Quitting. They're also able to provide support and help out and give resources. I also encourage them to call us at Tobacco Free for Healthy New Jersey, because there might be some special circumstances or groups that we can get them involved with.
Great. And what other resources are available the families can utilize in relation to, helping?
Yeah. So I'll make sure that everybody gets this at the end too, along with this presentation. You can have, this is a digital backpack. This has some really great resources, and it's kind of a way for us to take it's called a digital backpack because we gave it to all the schools. But it's like a very condensed version of every like cessation thing that we do, not every, but most. So it has adult resources. So you can see here that we have the Quit Line. Quit Line's online. The Quit Line's also a Quit Line, so you can call it. The Mom's Quit Connection for Kids and Quit for Kids. So this is for, families and for especially like newer parents and things like that. We also have some of our quit centers. So we have 11 quit centers throughout New Jersey, which is fantastic. And we also have people like counselors that specifically work with those over the age of 18. So the difference between, obviously under 18, over 18 is the way we provide services, but they're also not allowed to use NRTs, nicotine replacement devices, or therapies until over the age of 18, unless specified by a doctor. So we do have, interestingly enough, though, some youth groups too. So we have youth quit groups. And like I said before, if we know that there's a specific area that could really use some quit services, maybe a group of kids, we can help provide those services and work it out so it can be in a specific targeted area, working with specific target communities. We also have virtual support meetings. We have LGBTQ plus meetings. So we have we try to meet whatever group could really use our services. We try to really make sure that there's something out there for them. So we have, the Zoom support, we have calling support, we have in-person support coming back around now, which is great because that in-person environment seems to work really, really well, having that support network. And along with like I said, there's apps, there are, text support. So really there is a quitting service for anybody, and through Tobacco Free for a Healthy New Jersey, they're all free.
That's great. So let's go over contact information so that families know where to reach you.
Okay. So if anybody'd like to contact us, Elise is our Northern Programs Coordinator. So she does everything, all of those initiatives that we talked about before. She does that all. We also have me, who really handles the youth component, but I do have my hands in every little bit and piece throughout Tobacco Free for Health in New Jersey. And then Tanya coordinates our working well component. So if there was a workplace or an organization that was looking to help like hone in on their employee wellness policy or help their employees quit or provide some incentives to help with their policy, Tanya is the person to call for that.
Okay, great. And I know time is flying as always, but as a conclusion, let's recap because this information is really great. So I want families not to miss any information from what you just talked today.
Thanks.
So you have like the programs are free, the contact information are right there below. If they need to get in contact, let's say for general questions, if they don't know who to call, they can reach out to you.
Yes.
And basically, so there are a lot of services and resources available that families can utilize. So Ayla, thank you very much. I know that we also have in this call, we have, just give me 1 second. We have Lisa. Lisa, do you have a question?
I do. So many times when we are seeing e-cigarette advertisements, we're seeing, oh, it's just water vapor. At least that's the perception. So can you give some insight on maybe some other chemicals or anything else that might be cigarettes?
Yeah, I think the term vapes is definitely leads to that. We have people thinking that it's fine. It's just harmless. It's water vapor, but we know, first of all, you shouldn't inhale water. So even if it was water vapor, that's not great. But we know that there's lots of other chemicals in there. We of course have nicotine, which is, I talked about before, extremely, extremely addictive, basically hijacks the brain. And when introduced in a younger brain, really creates a solidified addiction. So we always talk about the age of onset and how we want to delay how long somebody uses any substance. And nicotine is one of those. So we want to delay using that because of how strong the addiction is, especially in a growing brain. We also have our flavorings, and flavorings are, I always like to surprise the kids by telling them that their mango vape doesn't have real mangoes in it. And I know everybody knows that's not true, but with them, flavorings is not natural. There's not a natural flavor that's in there. And we have our things like propylene glycol and glycerin. So those are, meant to help with how people what the vapor looks like, how it feels. It's some carriers for our flavorings and things like that. So these products, in your body, especially in your lungs, are really dangerous. So, we think about ingesting something. So a lot of flavorings, propylene glycol, glycerin, all something you ingest in processed foods, but your stomach has stomach acid and your digestive system has an exit. Lungs are not meant to filter. Lungs are not meant to have any of these substances in there. So it creates a really dangerous environment. And lungs are so fragile and so essential that introducing any of these components along with the hundreds of other components out there is really, really dangerous. So the misconception that that's just a water vapor definitely opens itself up to one of those myths that we talked about before. So knowing that there's all of these chemicals, and some of these chemicals break down to our heavy metals. We know diacetyl leads to popcorn lung. It's just not great. We also see a huge prevalence of, THC or CBD vapes. We have some essential oil vapes. We have some vitamin vapes. These all are substances that are detrimental to your lung health. So I think everybody needs to be aware of what you're ingesting, especially, inhaling into your very sensitive lungs. Thanks, Lisa.
That was a really good question. Thank you, Lisa, for asking that question. And Ayla, thank you very much for answering that question, definitely. So I know we only have 10 more minutes. I'm going to stop the recorder, but before that, I want to say thank you very much, Ayla, and also Lisa, for joining us and for provide all this information. And I also want to remind everybody that the contact information will be below the video, And if you have any question or anything, you can reach out to the contact information below. And that this video can be shared with other families or providers that you might feel can benefit from the information that we have in here. So thank you very much, everybody, and have an amazing, beautiful, raining day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me